Part 3. The false teachers have gone in the rebellion of Korah. They reject the authority that God has put in place. Korah, he was a man in Israel, a Levite, son of Izhar, grandson of Kohath. Being that he was a Kohathite, Korah was responsible for transporting the items within the tabernacle, including the Ark of the Covenant, from place to place. You can find this story in Numbers chapter 3. The Kohathites, they reported to Aaron's son Eleazar. Eleazar is the one who oversaw the items in the tabernacle. But Korah, he wasn't satisfied with the position that God gave him. He wanted to be priest. But Aaron, Moses' brother, was priest. So Korah, he gathered Dathan, Abiram, and 2 Hebrews from the tribe of Reuben, as well as 250 of the top leaders of Israel. And then he came to Moses and Aaron, and he questioned their authority. He says, "You have gone too far. The whole community is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is with them. Why then do you set yourselves above the Lord's assembly?" Numbers 16:3. So then Korah and his followers, they resented the authority God gave to Moses and Aaron. And when Moses heard this, he fell on his face. He knew that God's judgment was coming. So Moses challenged Korah to a test. And he called him and his followers to the sanctuary the next morning to offer incense before the Lord. And the man who the Lord chooses will be holy. And so even Moses reprimanded them for this rejection of authority. He says, "It is enough for you that God of Israel has separated you from the rest of the Israelite community and brought you near himself to do the work at the Lord's tabernacle and to stand before the community and minister to them." He reminded Korah that his rebellion was not against Moses, but his rebellion was against the Lord. So the next day, Korah and his followers, they met Aaron and Moses at the tabernacle entrance. And the glory of the Lord appeared. The 250 Israelite leaders each had a censer, and they put coals and incense in them to offer before the Lord. And then God spoke to Aaron and Moses and told them to separate themselves because he was going to destroy the congregation. But they interceded with the Lord, preventing the destruction of the entire camp. So then God, he commanded that the rest of the assembly move away from Korah, Dathan, and Abiram and their tents. And so Moses then pronounced a curse upon them, and immediately the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their households, their possessions, and everything that was associated with them was swallowed up. And then a fire came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 followers who offered incense before the Lord. So the lesson: Korah rejected Moses and Aaron's authority, likewise with the false teachers. Walked in the rebellion of Korah. They reject the authority that Jesus has put in place. He had an important job in the tabernacle, but he wasn't satisfied with what the Lord had did in the Israelite camp. And so he wanted to be high priest. But he was not of the priestly family. As a Levite, he had his own sphere of ministry. And yet he was not content, and he wanted Moses' ministry and authority. So the call on our lives, everyone has a call in their life. And it's important for you to fulfill what the Lord has for you, and not put yourself in position for something that the Lord has never ordained for you to be. There's a lot of people, a lot of preachers, a lot of prophets, a lot of apostles calling themselves the title when the Lord has never ordained them to walk in that. And you will be held accountable for putting yourself in position when the Lord did not tell you to do it. A lot of these false teachers, they reject God's chosen leadership. These men, they have crept in and walked in the rebellion of Korah because they speak evil of the Lord's chosen leadership.